Parliament has banned real money online gaming. This includes fantasy sports, it includes poker, rummy, other card games, and it's sending shockwaves across the country because 20,000 people could lose their jobs and a lot of money might be lost in the process. And these are very important people and very large companies. Let's take a look at what is really going on. Remember, like, share, subscribe, and sign up for our membership if you can. It would really help us. To begin with, the bill is called the Promotion and Regulation of Online Gaming Bill 2025, approved by both houses of Parliament. And as the name suggests, it talks about online gaming. But it talks specifically about real money gaming. Now, what this means is that the player is depositing money in an expectation of winning more money in return. The bill outlaws all betting, gambling activities, so all satta, jua activities, but also online fantasy sports to online gambling. So no poker, rummy, card games, or any sort of fantasy 11, cricketing apps either. We drew up a list of companies that are possibly affected by this: Dream 11, Mobile Premier League or MPL, Winzo, Rupee, Zupi, Games 24/7, My 11 Circle, How's That, SG11 Fantasy, Jungly Games, Pokerbazi, My Team 11. So there are many of those all in the firing line. The second round that will get hit is advertising. Now, real money gaming platforms are among India's biggest ad spenders, apparently pumping 10,000 crore rupees or more annually into marketing for big events like IPL, for example. So when they get hit, the revenue to IPL will get hit. The biggest beneficiaries of their sponsorships are sporting bodies and broadcasters. So for example, Indian cricket's biggest sponsor is Dream 11 and My 11 Circle. They contribute 358 crore rupees annually and 625 crore rupees for IPL rights respectively. If that disappears, it will hit BCCI. It will also hit JioStar, because this is massive revenue to come into both of these very important organizations. So one wonders, if you join the dots, who's making these decisions and who's getting hurt. Now, the combined valuation of these real money gaming startups in India apparently exceeds $23 billion or 2 trillion Indian rupees. And the ban apparently, according to these companies, threatens 2 lakh jobs across the country, and 300 plus companies could shut down. Nazara Technologies, which has significant investments in platforms like Pokerbazi, is facing potential asset write-offs completely. Apparently, it holds about 800 crore rupees in Pokerbazi, which might have to be written off completely if this doesn't get reversed in some way. The stock market reacted sharply. Nazara Tech shares have plunged 11%. Delta Corp has fallen about 5%, just over 2 days of speculation. Like I told you, the gaming industry is actually slated to be valued at 9.2 billion by 2029, and it employs altogether more than 130,000 skilled workers across the country. Ganesh Prasad, a partner at Kaitan and Company, apparently told Live Mint that the industry has consistently been voicing its primary concern that a blanket ban equates legitimate, regulated, skill-based gaming platforms with basically predatory gambling models, and that's not fair. Just to take a quick sidebar, there was a case that went to court that effectively categorized several of these apps as skill-based, which is basically I win money based on my skill of playing the game, and it's not really chance, so it isn't gambling, it's skill-based. And there was, that definition created a differentiation. This bill effectively throws that definition out of the window. Now, this bill has been piloted by the Minister of Information Technology, Ashwini Vaishnav, and it's been passed without debate in both houses of Parliament because the opposition members were outside demanding a special discussion on the electoral rolls in Bihar and the revision of those electoral rolls by the Election Commissioner. So let me take a look at what the bill exactly says. Now, it says offering any sort of online money gambling is punishment by prison of up to 3 years and a fine of 1 crore rupees. The bill also says no advertisements related to online money games. It bars banks and financial institutions from transferring funds to any such games. So basically, your in-app purchases have stopped and you can't make any payments on these apps for anything you want to buy. The advertising of money games will attract imprisonment of 2 years and a fine of 50 lakh rupees. Felicitating financial transactions related to the games will lead to imprisonment of 3 years and a fine of 1 crore rupees. So this is for banking and payment apps. They're going to freeze this completely starting now. Repeat offences will have enhanced penalties, and offences under key sections are sought to be made cognizable and non-bailable. So it's a really stark and very sort of harsh regulation or legislation that has been brought in. How has the industry reacted so far? Like I said, they have said quite publicly that 20,000 jobs are at risk. There are industry bodies, so associations of gaming companies. They're called Indian Gaming Federation, E-Gaming Federation, and Federation of India Fantasy Sports. They've sent a letter to the Home Minister Amit Shah raising concerns over the bill, saying that online skill gaming is a sunrise sector with a valuation of over 2 lakh crore rupees, and they contribute 20,000 crore rupees in direct and indirect taxes annually, and that is obviously something that the government will face a loss on, and it's projected to grow at 20% annual growth rate, so CAGR, doubling by 2028. However, there are apparently some sections of the gaming industry that are for the, have come out in support of the bill. So Nodwin Gaming co-founder Akshat Rathi has apparently said the government's intent is to recognize and promote esports, and that's a good thing. And there have been some people who have come out in support of the bill as well. Now, what is the government's argument? And this is important. The minister, Ashwini Vaishnava, said online money gaming is a serious social and public health issue and can cause demonstrable negative impact on society. He said the proposed legislation will promote esports and social gaming. So we will promote these two things, but we will actually remove the harmful effects of online money gaming. And that is the reason why such a strong law was necessary. The minister has said, and I'm quoting here, even WHO has basically classified this in a new disease called gaming disorder, which causes anxiety, depression, sleep problems, and social withdrawal. We've seen addiction to online gaming has caused the middle class families to lose their entire savings, and in some cases also suicide. Now, the victims of online gaming are not being punished. He said there's no punitive action for the users, but the people offering online gaming services and those advertising the services will be subject to liability. So almost looking at this like contraband, like you're handing out narcotics. So the people selling it and the people advertising it are being held accountable. The people using it are not being held accountable. Now, how did the bill come along? The minister has also said that they proposed a self-regulatory framework. It was mooted. It did not work out, and which is why they've had to consider such a strong sort of bill instead. And when asked about what specific industry bodies are saying about the fact that there's going to be such a loss of investment and of jobs, the minister basically said that there are 3 segments in online gaming. 2, which is esports and online social gaming, are going to be promoted and encouraged. But the 3rd one, which of course is real money gaming, is going to be removed altogether. Now, there are many questions that arise at the end of this, right? One, if the government saw online real money gaming to be on par with narcotics, which is how it's being treated in this bill, then why allow it to grow to this stage? Remember, this is a sector that has been sponsoring your biggest events in the country, that is the sponsor of your cricket team, that is working with BCCI, it's working with the biggest organizations. It's not like they were functioning in the shadows. So why wait until it becomes so big, until so many people have money here at stake, so many jobs are at stake, before you decide to take these strong steps? The question of skill versus chance. So the courts, like I told you previously, had actually judged that fantasy sports, rummy and poker involved some skill. And so this blanket ban actually is against those judicial rulings. And so will the court, again, obviously these founders are going to go back to court. So which way the court will decide is the other thing that will come up. Secondly, Article 19(1)(g), which is the right to trade and occupation. So each of us as a citizen have the right to carry on trade and occupation. Does this violate the rights of the founders of these companies? Gaming is also a state subject. So you remember some states have lotteries, some states don't have lotteries, right? Because gaming and gambling come under state subjects, which is why one wonders, is the center overriding those state subjects? The economic questions are obviously the 20,000 jobs that we're talking about, the money that we're talking about of the $23 billion, dollar industry that we're talking about, and the investors of listed companies like Delta Corp and Nazara Tech, who are just suddenly going to lose money. Like, these are listed companies, right? So these are not companies that are fly by night, that showed up overnight and now are going to vanish. They are listed on your stock market, and if the government decides overnight that their business is now suddenly illegal, what happens to all of the investors who are holding that stock? And finally, advertising revenues for sports bodies, for sports people who will get affected, IPL franchise, broadcasters, all of these will get affected as well. Do they have rights? And more importantly, if we examine the government's motives to reduce addiction, suicide, financial distress, the question is there any hard research that shows how many instances of these have actually directly resulted from using real money gaming apps? Is there data that can be presented? Because if this goes to court, that data will be asked for. Secondly, when you're actually implementing it on a user level, will their VPNs be used, and are people actually going to take this offline or do this underground or do this basically in a portion of the internet that cannot be monitored, and how how that's going to be dealt with the government? So there are so many questions that come up on this, but I do want to know what you think. Do you believe that online gaming that uses real money is a bad thing, and is this the right way to deal with it, and is this the way to go forward? Leave me a comment in the comment section.